Do you want to improve your English, but you're not sure exactly how? You've tried hundreds of methods, but nothing seems to work. I've had so many students who've had the same problem, which is why I've put together this video with 10 ultimate tips to become fluent in English. Focus on communication, not perfection. Most learners think, I'll speak English when my English is correct. That's the trap. Because fluent speakers hesitate less, simplify ideas, and above all, keep the conversation moving. For example, when you don't know a word, try not to get blocked, but describe the word. It is a place where you can buy medicine, and then the other person will say, a chemist, a pharmacy. You work your way round this difficulty to keep the conversation going. So next time you get stuck, don't stop. Just explain it differently. You can do it. Speak every single day, or at least as often as possible, because speaking is both a physical and mental skill. Your mouth needs practice with the sounds, with the rhythm, and your brain needs speed to quickly recall the correct word or phrase. And if you only study, your brain becomes passive English mode. So, what should you do? Try to narrate your day. Say what you're doing while you're doing it out loud. Ask yourself random questions and answer them, of course. And react to content or things you see. Give your opinion. Don't worry if you look a little bit funny speaking to yourself. It's fine. It's all part of the process. And even 10 minutes a day makes a huge difference over a longer period of time. Learn phrases, not individual words, because your brain doesn't store language as single words, but rather it stores patterns, association. Let's take the example of the word decision. Let's imagine you've just learned decision. You still need to think, is it make a decision or do a decision? But if, on the other hand, you learn the chunk, the phrase, make a decision from the beginning, you cut out the middleman and you speak instantly. So try to learn, memorize, and use these high-value chunks. I might go out, but it depends on the weather. Last weekend, I came down with a cold. I'm not really sure. I'm on the fence. You get what I mean, right? When you learn something new, always ask, what words usually go with this one? Chunks, not words. Repeat more than you consume, because most learners watch endless videos, but they remember very little. Because learning happens above all during repetition, revision, not exactly just with exposure. Once again, because it's passive and you want to be much more active. So a better method is the following. Choose one video. Watch it once to enjoy it and understand it. Then watch it again and really focus on the vocabulary, the pronunciation, and the phrases. Then, if you've got the patience, watch it a third time. This time you can copy some pronunciation, do a little bit of shadowing, and try to test yourself to see if you remember the interesting words and phrases that were used during the first and second time that you watched it. But don't worry, I understand. If a video is 30, 40, 50 minutes long, you're not going to want to do this. But this is a great tactic with short videos or series that you don't mind re-watching. So you're repeating while you're consuming. Use easy, understandable input. Of course, this doesn't apply to you if you are already a very advanced speaker, Because at this level, you need to be testing yourself, challenging yourself with difficult input. But for most people, when content is too difficult, it's demotivating. You miss lots of details. You get tired. And ultimately, you don't improve. You're more likely to give up than actually gain new knowledge. So you need to find the sweet spot. This is when you understand the vast majority, maybe 80%, and, well, you have some new words and phrases, perhaps 10%. So you're challenging yourself, but you are understanding the vast majority. Be consistent. Daily practice is much better than intense marathons and throwing in the towel. Your brain learns language through frequency, not through effort. Well, a little bit of effort. So if you study for 5 hours straight in one day, you'll probably have forgotten the majority after a few days. So it's better to study 20, 30 minutes every day over a week. That gives you constant reinforcement, revision, and repetition. But of course, the more time you spend with the language, the better. If you can do 5 hours every single day, oh, amazing. At the end of the day, immersion is the ultimate way of becoming fluent in English or any other language. And immersion is just very intense consistency. So set a goal, however much time works for you, and stick to it. Stop translating in your head. Translation is slow and it can be a little bit stressful too. Because this is what happens. You think in your mother tongue, you're translating at the same time, and then, only then, are you speaking. There are too many steps, so you become hesitant. And then the other person is going to think, okay, what's going on? Did they understand me or not? Which results in very slow speaking. Of course, there is a problem that stopping translating in your head is much easier said than done. And it's a process that happens naturally. But it will only happen when you start replacing things that you do in your first language with your target language. If you normally read the news in Spanish, read it in English. If you usually listen to podcasts in Arabic, do it in English. If you tend to watch series in French, do it in English. If you do sport in Chinese, do it in English. That is the game changer. Switching your habits from your language into English, which will then allow you to stop translating in your head. Practice real conversations, because textbook exercises don't prepare you for real life. Real conversations include interruptions, unclear sentences, and fast responses. A textbook may say, "Hello, how do you do?" But real life will be a little bit more like this. "Hello mate, how's it going?" You need exposure to the real usage. If you already have friends you can speak to in English, this is perfect. Really try to take advantage of this. If not, I have 2 suggestions. Number 1 is to join my group classes or private classes, link in the description. And number 2 is to speak to AI. It's not perfect, but it's much better than nothing. And with my brand new app, you can practice speaking to my voice 24/7. Whenever you want. In addition to practicing role plays, reviewing flashcards, using it as a dictionary, training your pronunciation, and much more. So try English with Lewis. It's available on Google Play or the App Store. Now moving on. This one's a little bit controversial. Focus on simple, high-frequency language. Because there are some common words that appear all the time. Get, go, make, take, thing, stuff. They're really, really basic, I know. But native English speakers tend to be very, well, simple. And being simple can be powerful. It can be effective. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I'm a hypocrite. And in some ways, I am. Because I always teach phrasal verbs, expressions, advanced vocabulary. And this is phenomenal if you really want to stand out and get to a C1 and C2 level. But 9 times out of 10, we're going to use the simple option before we use the advanced option. And you'll only know which words and phrases are really common by, well, immersing yourself in English. So you can see what most native speakers actually use and how they use it. And finally, accept. Embrace your mistakes. A fear of mistakes is your biggest obstacle, the biggest thing standing in your way of achieving fluency. Because here's the reality. Every fluent speaker has made thousands of mistakes and probably continues to make certain mistakes. I make mistakes as well, even in my mother tongue. But mistakes are powerful because they show you what you need to work on, what you need to fix, what you need to solve. And when you make a mistake, well, it becomes more memorable. So it reduces the probability of you making the same mistake again. And when you start really realizing when you're about to make a mistake and correcting yourself, this is a moment of immense satisfaction. So if it happens to you, give yourself a pat on the back. Remember, no mistakes equals no progress. And this is fine if your English is perfect. But come on, no one's English is perfect. So there you have my 10 ultimate tips to make you a fluent English speaker. Because fluency isn't about learning more and more and more. It's about using simple English sometimes, repeating it over and over again, speaking without fear of making mistakes, and immersing yourself in English. So thanks for watching, I hope you liked it, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!